get your own channel and you do that all you want to.
All right, fine.
I am not doing
I'm
that.
saying that anybody of any age can
That's
listen
not
to
what
us.
that means.
Right. Okay, fine. Then that's fine. If that's what that means, then okay, fine.
That's
So,
not what that means.
all
You
right,
don't
fine.
understand
All
what
right, fine,
that
fine.
means.
So yeah, I'm not a YouTuber. I'd like to become more of a YouTuber. I'd like to make a lot of money from YouTube. I would, I would like that.
Well,
I'd like,
then you should do cute cat videos and unboxing videos and
right. Yeah.
content for little babies and things
Right,
like that.
right. But what you were talking about, what we were talking about was basically talking.
Well, if you're going to talk about the violence in Minneapolis, you're not going to.
Not Minneapolis,
Indianapolis, then you're not going to have any viewers. Nobody wants to come on here and listen to you rail about the
gun violence.
injustices.
About gun violence.
Yeah, no one wants to hear that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I think we have to talk about all of it. There's so many issues to talk about now.
I have one issue.
Okay, climate change. Let's only talk about, and that's why I said
How many issues do I have? Remind yourself.
One issue.
What is my issue?
Climate change. Right. That's
Actually, technically, it's global heating.
Climate
Climate change results from that.
Right. Global heating. Right. Beautiful. And, I love how, even Marshall said this, that if we fix climate change, we will fix everything. I think he put it on his little thing here. It says we cannot fix climate crisis while fixing every sector of our lives. Well, that's important. But I thought he also said,
that's not true. I mean, I appreciate that sentiment, but that's not true.
We cannot fix the climate crisis without fixing every sector of our lives.
Okay, so I have to give everybody a sex change operation because that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Do I?
No.
No, I don't have to. Okay. Do I have to give, everybody their Second Amendment rights? Guaranteed? No, I don't have to do that.
Well, what I see it saying, climate without first fixing every sector of our lives. I don't talk about the sectors in that way. I think what I feel he means by that is the food, clothing, shelter, those type of issues. The big issues.
Okay, well,
jobs,
don't assume
work.
You know what he's talking about when he says we have to fix everything about
our
society.
I'm not
before we
fixing
can
every
fix
sector of our lives. What I'm thinking, okay, right.
My response to that is actually very simple. It's very stark.
Right.
And it's very brutal. You could spend your entire adult life trying to preserve the wetlands around the bay.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be under 230 feet of water. You could spend your entire life trying to create low-income housing for poor people, near the bay, and it's all going to be under 200 feet of water. Okay, in 50 years, you could spend all your life trying to make America equitable. Meanwhile, the Jeff Bezoses of the world are working with the elites to siphon up all the money. There's not going to be any money. You can't. There's no equity. It's done. Okay, all the money went one place and it's never coming back. So you could spend your whole life doing these things. And then climate change comes along and just sets everything in stone. You're done. These parts are underwater. These parts are flooded. These parts have been rained out. These parts have been burned out. These parts are now too hot to survive. And you've spent all your life trying to fix these things for people. And then global heating comes along and ruins it for you.
Right.
And I'm not saying we don't have problems like those that need to be fixed. It's just that we should have fixed them 40 years ago. And then we'd have a chance to enjoy our fixes and float all the boats and get people ready for bigger changes coming. But we didn't. We didn't do that. So that's in the rearview mirror now. We're not going to do that. We can't go forward with that in mind. All we can do now, maybe, possibly, no guarantee, maybe talk about it, saving ourselves from climate change. Maybe we can do that. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't think there's any appetite for it. I don't think there's any appetite for saving us from climate change.
Right.
No one cares about that.
Right.
They're more concerned about their pronouns.
And I like what Greta Thunberg, how she says it. She doesn't only talk about climate crisis, ecological collapse, the ecological crisis. That's really important.
Okay, and all the people who spend all their time trying to save the whales are going to find out that all the whales are dead. Well, why are all the whales dead? They're not dead because you weren't concerned about saving them. They're dead because the oceans got too hot and they got too acidic, and the food chain collapsed. The food chain collapsed, and the whales died of starvation. and you were out there saving the whales from whaling. Didn't do you any good.
Right.
The whales are probably already functionally extinct. I would say that large cetacean species that live in the oceans are essentially extinct. They're not going to be able to survive the changes that are coming unless they eat jellyfish. Unless they can adapt to eating jellyfish, they're done.
That's the only thing going to be left.
That's the only thing that's going to be left in the ocean is jellyfish. Many parts of the oceans are already headed that direction. So if you eat jellyfish, and let's say if you're a greenback turtle, a ladderback turtle, something like that, then you can eat jellyfish and you'll do fine. Everything else is gone.
Right.
And you're not going to have whales. And you can stop whaling and you can preserve whales. You can have a little whale sticker on the bumper of your car, and all the whales die anyway because the ocean dies.
Right.
There's just a lot of things that people have been taught that they should be concerned about. And they'll sell you a bumper sticker, and they'll take your donations, and you can buy the hoodie T-shirt, whatever, and and doom your way to saving the whales, and the whales are already doomed. The oceans are going to evolve right out from under them, and they're not going to have a home. They're not going to have a food supply. They're going to be gone.
Right.
Now, if you wanted to save the whales, I mean, maybe you can't save them from whaling right now, but maybe, possibly, if you got on the climate change, maybe at this point, I'm not even sure about that. But let's say that you wanted to stop climate change. Are you going to do that? No.
We're not going to do it.
Not going to do that. Well, we're not doing it. What's going to change? Okay, when the last whale goes belly up and floats ashore, driving my car. But they won't, and they'll drive their car. That's what they'll do.
Right.
Because that's how people are. I'm not inventing that. I'm observing how people are, and that's how people are. And when the time comes to save the whales, there won't be any whales left.
Right. But I think what it is that we have to be in an urgent.
No, you're making a mistake.
What?
You put the camera on the bottom again.
Oh, you don't like that?
Well, it makes it hard to use the camera.
Oh, I see. You like it on the top? Okay, so then finish this. Let's see. I was having trouble getting it to set up to begin with. Okay, so delete that, and then. Okay, so then basically, yeah, it's like this. You like it like that. There it is. That's
camera up. Yeah, I think that works better. Because otherwise it's down low and it's coffee cups and all that.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that the point that I was, thinking about was just how capitalism has, is in sharp relief with, it's a very sharp relief. They're documenting who's dying. They're saying who's dying, and it turns out the chefs are dying. They're the ones that are dying the most. Is the restaurant workers, the behind the scene workers, and they're the ones that are dying, and they're the slaves to capitalism, to the rich. And I was thinking about that. I think I was thinking about that last night. It was like the rich was really bothering me, the rich, and that's where the French Revolution, came. And I think they killed. I don't think anybody else was rich, but the aristocracy.
They killed the French Revolution. They killed the aristocracy.
Right, they were the only rich people. Everybody else was a peasant.
Everybody else was poor. Yeah,
it was a peasant.
It was a heavily stratified.
Right, and
society.
Very small group.
Yes.
And now we have so many rich. That's
Heavily
the problem.
stratified.
We have so many rich.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
We do.
Not globally.
Okay, I'm talking about the United. Let's say just here in San Jose. Let's just talk about our neighborhood.
Okay, well, San Jose is weird in that regard. Okay, we have Apple over there, Cisco over here, Adobe over there, and now Google. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of rich people here. Wow, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All I'm saying is that even if we look at it globally, the rich are the ones that are using fossil fuels. So we don't just forget about San Jose. The rich are using the fossil fuels, and they're the ones that are going to the restaurants.
And Kobe beef flown in from Japan. I mean, they have everything going on, right?
Right.
Their footprint, their carbon footprint is ginormous.
Right, and that we have so many of them. We do. We have so many.
There is getting to be a lot of people.
I mean, we can't now. We have. The French Revolution had
the pandemic came from China, Wuhan, China. The wet market in Wuhan, China had wild animals for sale that were only affordable by the rich. The rich in Wuhan gave us the pandemic.
rich, and that's the
No,
rich.
it came from.
It's
They're
the rich
eating
who want-
pangolins, and pangolin is a delicacy.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so you got your pandemic from the rich people in China,
Right.
and if there was one rich person in China, there wouldn't be a market full of pangolins, right? There would be some guy who goes to pangolin land, catches a pangolin, and brings it back to the emperor. But now you have so many miniature emperors in China. They all want pangolin, okay? And so now there's a wet market full of pangolin and fruit bats and every other thing else.
And that's the same thing with, here
That's
in,
capitalism.
here in America.
That's the
We've
rich.
got the ducks and the, they stuff it down their throat, whatever it is. We have so many
Foie gras.
foie gras, and in the restaurants, and now everything is about the restaurants. And even my neighbors, Noel on Cleves, whatever, he says, oh, a restaurant is open. Everybody's, the minute they Gavin Newsom changed it, people were on the phone, the capitalists were on the phone, come on, back in the workplace, come on back, we're open for business.
Right.
And the chairs came out outside, so now we can feed everybody out there, and people like that more. They don't want to come and take it home and eat in their home. That they want to show off how rich they
Absolutely.
are. That
These
they're
are rich
in the,
people.
they're in
they
the-
want to eat out.
They want to show that they're rich.
That's their
I guess that's part of it.
their excessive display of wealth.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
It is that.
Yes.
That they're being shown.
And
now
they're
they,
lords and ladies.
right.
And the woman goes in for her $150 hairdo every 2 weeks. So she's just
Oh
lording
yeah,
it up.
and then her beautiful clothes that she can show now, because everybody was. They said that
Oh,
our textile industry had plummeted
Yes.
under COVID, because everybody's in their pajamas now.
Yeah, they're not
that was
buying
the thing
expensive shoes.
That's all
and
they wanted was
clothes and-
pajamas, and that did very well.
Yeah.
Exercise clothes
Right.
and things like that
Yeah, sweatpants.
that are very comfortable.
Right.
And so our glamorous heels, and we're going to show it all off now. Now we're back. We're showing it off, and we're out. We're out again.
Yeah.
We could be out.
And I wouldn't be caught dead except in fashion
Right,
footwear.
and we could
Right.
be out now, and I said to my neighbors, and I'm sure you'll chastise me that I shouldn't say anything to them, but I guess I am a teacher, so I am going to say it, and I said to them that we don't need to be in restaurants. That's a lie. That's BS.
Okay,
That's BS.
Okay, you don't understand their world.
Right.
They need to be in a restaurant.
Well, to show
That's
off,
how they.
and all
That's
that.
that's how they validate
Whatever.
their
I said,
social
but
position.
what I was saying is that the people who are dying are the the ones that
Okay, that could
provide
be
the
true.
restaurant.
That could be
They're
true.
the ones that are dying the most.
Still not matter.
And because what we say at the end is care about each other. That's what Noel was saying. Care about your neighbor.
No, they
So
don't.
I corrected that, and
They
I said, if you really care about your neighbor, do not go to the restaurant. Stay home and cook your own food.
Okay, but the
That's what I said.
restaurateur is also a neighbor.
Who
I
owns
care
the
about
restaurant?
him,
Oh,
so I'll go to his
I
restaurant
care
and make
about
sure
him.
he stays in business.
Right, exactly.
After all, he also lives in $1 million house right next to mine.
right.
And he's a restaurateur.
Right.
I care about him. I'm going to his restaurant. Bye, Felicia.
Right, and then we got into the controversy about Deb Davis, because I looked it up, because there was one vote against giving the $5 an hour more to the workers, and it was Deb Davis who said no.
Okay,
And
okay.
she
Back
came-
up. Context. The city council voted.
No, it was in the rules. It's coming to Wi-Fi. See where my Wi-Fi is.
Can't start live
Oh,
video.
okay, fine.
I'll
I'll show you right
see up
here.
here. There's an icon up here.
No, I'm just gonna go boom. You want to see my Wi-Fi?
Just stop poking things.
All right.
I'm going to turn it off,
Okay.
and I'm going to turn it back on.
Right.
All right, it connected fine.
Okay.
And now let's go back.
So then click that, and then boom, and then close that, and hit live. Start live. Okay, now it's live. All right. See what happens.
Somehow it either got connected to the wrong Wi-Fi, which is like
Possibly.
that one over there in the corner of the house,
Mm.
and it never got reconnected. So if it's giving you grief, see, this isn't giving you grief because when we restart your Mac Mini, it's on the table and it just connects to that over there,
Okay.
right? But if you're moving around the property with this iPad,
Right.
it might connect to a Wi-Fi
Um,
that's in the backyard.
So you
Okay.
have to maybe restart it.
Yeah.
With the
Well,
right-
no, you just do what I just
do
did.
it where it's close by and make sure it's
Just
there.
turn it off
and
and
do
turn it back on.
I see. Okay, that's
And it'll
good.
connect to whatever's closest, okay?
Good.
They're all called the same name, so you never know which one is connected to.
Okay. All right.
It's a Wi-Fi mesh Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Anyway.
Good. Oh, okay. And just tell people to don't forget that we are on Cougar W, that our videos are on Cougar W.
That's true. We are on YouTube.
Yeah.
Cougar W.
Right. Search Cougar W.
Live streams.
Yeah, that are preserved there, and you can listen to them.
We do not upload videos.
And they're very good. And I'm just very concerned with, the way things are going. And we've got a lot of problems in our politicians.
And I was trying to say something before this thing got messed up.
Yeah.
So what I said was that, so the city council is thinking about passing an ordinance, essentially, to pay workers in hazardous work an extra $5 an hour.
Right.
So this is a really interesting story. If your industry was an industry that had a hazardous thing, like farm workers dealing with pesticides, mine workers dealing with explosives, or underground coal mines, or factory workers dealing with robots or other fast-moving machinery, right? Then the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, would come in, evaluate your industry, evaluate your factory, evaluate how your factory works,
Right.
and they would put in place, education campaigns, safety equipment, like guards, let's put a piece of metal around this machine or a piece of fencing around this machine, keep people from falling into it. Let's put some insulators on these electrical conductors. They would come in and they would fix the situation. And then anybody who wants to work there can work there with some assurance that they're going to survive. Okay. Now, during a pandemic, you can't work in a restaurant or in retail as a clerk or a checker and do it safely. You can't do it safely. You just can't do it safely because you're in constant contact with people. You're touching their credit cards. You're touching their stuff. You're helping them. You're breathing their air. It's indoors. The filtration is non-existent. It's dangerous. Okay. So they're recognizing that to do these things is dangerous. Now, if you were really concerned about your people, your human beings, you would say, oh, no, this is dangerous. It's a pandemic. We can't have people breathing each other's air, and we're not requiring people to wear masks. And if you did require people to wear masks, that would be a different kind of problem. They'd be shooting you in the face for asking them to wear a mask. So we can't wear masks, therefore we have to expose our employees to these dangerous pathogens, and therefore it's a hazardous workplace. And so you're thinking, okay, I see, so they're going to protect workers. No, you'd be wrong. They passed an ordinance that says we're going to pay them $5 an hour more.
They're proposing to, yeah.
Okay? Now, if you had a meat plant and there was a big chopping blade going up and down, chopping goats in half, right? And it was dangerous and you could lose your hand, lose your arm, or lose your life, well then, you pay them $5 an hour more. That's one solution. Another solution is you put up, a guard around the equipment so people can't get their hands in there. Or you put rails around so people can't get too close to the chopping block that's coming up and down like this, chopping goats in half. That's how, or you can pay them $5 an hour more because maybe that's cheaper.
Right.
Maybe it's cheaper to pay them $5 an hour more. So now your only challenge is when you go out in the morning to find workers to work where your chopping machine is going up and down, you tell them, well, you could die here, but we'll pay you $5 an hour more than the guy down the street. Now, the problem with having to pay people more is you get inflation. People come in and they say, wow, I saw a guy got cut in half. $5 an hour isn't enough. I need 10. And so what the city's trying to do is get ahead of that process. They're trying to get ahead of wage escalation because this is fucking scary stuff we're having to do, right? I'm having to deal with these people, breathe their air. They're coughing in my face. Right. They're not wearing a mask because they're Karens and they're all MAGA people, and I'm going to die.
Right.
I'm going to die, and I want more money.
What we realize is that
I want hazard pay, and I'm going to define hazard pay as $50 an hour. Okay.
Well, what we realize is
and the city's trying to get ahead of that.
Well, no, what we realize the only thing the city does.
Okay, the corporations are trying to get ahead of that.
They do the work of the corporations, and
somebody came along and said, okay, here's the optics. Here's the layout. You're being forced by corporations to open up your retail, your bars, your everything. Workers are going to show up. A bunch of them are going to die. And then they're either going to be too afraid to go to work or they're going to want more money. Hazard pay. Yeah. So let's get ahead of that. Let's create hazard pay. But we're going to fix it. It's not this floating thing.
Only during the times when your stay-at-home order is very limited.
Yeah, it's not going to be this floating thing where you can define your hazard pay.
Right.
The city says, of course, the city is the right way to do it. level the playing field here. Well, $5 an hour seems reasonable to us.
Good.
Okay, it probably should be $50 an hour. But $5 an hour seems reasonable to us. So they're going to pass an ordinance. It's going to be $5 an hour. Now, if you go to work and one of your coworkers drops dead, and you go to the boss and say, "Hey, this is dangerous work I'm doing. I need a raise." He's going to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but I am limited to only $5 an hour more. Ha ha! It is terrible, a great tragedy, but take it or leave it." And if you leave it, there will be somebody who lost a job 6 months ago who's at the back door knocking on the door wanting a job, and he'll just say, "Yeah, the wages is $12 an hour." He doesn't even mention the 5. You get to show up and decide later if you want the 5, but it's $13 an hour now, and maybe I'll give you $5 more if you ever cop to the fact that this is dangerous work. So that's the game they're going to play. Now, if this was any other type of business and we had strong regulations and OSHA was involved,
Right.
they would put in physical controls. They wouldn't pay you more to come in and work here, and because the amount of money that you would pay has to be determined relative to the risk. And nobody wants to talk about the risk, because the risk is like, well, there is no risk, but we'll pay $5 more. But let's not talk about the risk, because there is no risk. We're just doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. If you really assess the risk, which is losing both kidneys to coronavirus, you would want to talk about more money. I mean, maybe you wouldn't want to work there at all. So they don't want to talk about the real risk. They're just going to say, well, we're just feeling very magnanimous, and we love all of you, kiss you on the mouth, and here's $5. And so they get ahead of that whole argument about what is the risk and what is the proper pay for the risk, and they just say, we're going to give you $5 more if you ask for it.
What they're saving, what we realize, is that they're not doing the infrastructure work, just like on our roads and all the other ways that we die and our pollution control. No infrastructure change. And it really needs to be changed. The whole system needs to be changed.
Okay, well, here's what you're going to find out.
We shouldn't be going into the stores.
Here's what they have found out. Here's what the restaurants have found out. Here's what the stores have found out. Is that the infrastructure changes you would need to make this work are impossible.
Well, to make capitalism flourish.
Okay, I'm just saying that it requires air filtration, HEPA filters, PPE, full face masks, the whole thing.
Fine.
And the reason why it doesn't work
isn't
not just because the technology doesn't exist. The reason why it doesn't work is
a lot of money.
It's scary.
Right, of course. And
the first time a customer comes into your restaurant to order a burger, and you're wearing full bodysuit PPE and a fucking respirator with a fan, they're going to get up and walk out.
Right. And the thing is,
even though
everything should be curbside. Everything should be outside.
Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about their problem.
Right. Everything should be curbside.
I don't care what your solution is. They don't want curbside. You know why?
Because not enough people can come in.
No, it's raining for 4 or 5 days at a time.
That's true.
And there's bugs, and there's dogs, and there's cars, and there's pollution, and there's wind is blowing your hair's in your face.
You get run over in the parking lot.
Yeah, the leaf blows into your soup. They don't want curbside. They don't want outside dining. They don't want curbside pickup. They don't want any of that stuff. They want you, your butt, in a seat in their restaurant where they can control everything, including everything you see. That's how they want it. That's how they make money. They're not in this game to feed you. They're in this game to make money from you.
And then the thing that the problem is, and then and it's it's just the problem is that we need to rejigger the way we're doing everything. And the
okay, well that's what the hippie says, and the hippie was saying that back in 1970. Peace, love, dove. That's not what they want to hear.
Well, no,
they don't want to hear rejiggering.
Right.
That means eating outside. Tables are 10 feet apart. Leaf is blowing into your soup. No, they don't want to rejigger.
No, they are. They're so happy to have outdoor dining. That's already.
And then they put up a tent.
And I know, right. And they're closed on all sides. The thing is, and then our grocery stores, really need to go. We were talking about that this morning. Go back to the old-fashioned way. What I say needs to be all digital and virtual. You put your order in over the internet, or you call up. And then the pickers go pick everything you have, and they bring it out to you, and that's it.
And did you remember my comment on that?
It wouldn't be enough money for the capitalists, because so much of what we buy is impulse buying, and then we're hungry,
want
and then
you-
we'll eat their
They
lasagna
want
that's
you.
there, and their
They
soups.
want exactly.
you know.
Prepared foods, a
Yeah, and
hot
you spend
bar,
hours, right?
all of it.
You're just living in there, and remember
They
how they
want all
close the
of
whole
that.
building, so you don't see anything, and you're inside, and you're just
They don't make money.
right, like in a
When
mall.
they don't make money when you need
To
an
go
apple and you go in there and you buy one apple and you walk out. That was actually a loss for them. Okay.
Right.
You need to go in there and buy that apple, and then as you're walking back to the cash register, you walk past the chocolate and the hair shampoo and the kombucha and the crisps and all this other stuff. And then when you're buying, a loaf of bread that you didn't plan on buying, then you see the cheese and you're like, wow, I can have bread and cheese. Oh, and I might as well get some peanut butter and jelly. And it's all this stuff. And you went in there to buy one apple because the place is just like packed full of enticements everywhere.
Then you'll pick up the
You
mac and
can't
cheese.
even get out without having $200 worth of stuff in your shopping cart, none of which you planned on buying. That's how they make money. They don't make money on you buying the things you plan on buying.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that if we had it
And
virtual,
they need you in the
Right,
store.
right. And
Because you going to a website to buy stuff online to do curbside pickup means you know what you need.
and their staff has
And
to
you
work,
go and you do a search.
and their staff is
Flour,
working.
bread flour.
Right.
And they show you a list of bread flours. And you don't have to get to the bread flour. You just click on an icon. It's not like the store
have to
where
pass
you
the
have to go down
candy
3
and
aisles to
gum
get
and-
to the
Right.
that bread
Right.
flour.
And then the cheese
then you're
bar.
passing the
Oh.
hot bar and the
And then
salad
the woman
bar
is
and the
giving you a little
cheeses
taste,
and the
I'll
free
have to buy
tastes and
that.
all. And then you finally get to your bread flour.
Right. So they want us in the store. Right. And this is
You
capitalism.
have to be in
And
the
this-
store.
This
Jeff Bezos doesn't make a dime on
And
you
this-
buying
But
exactly
this
what
is
you
the
have to buy
changes
online.
and they put a little plastic thing in front of the woman who's checking out the money. But then people they lower their mask. They turn around. I hear all the problems of the cashier people. They're very exposed.
Okay. The little plastic thing is called a cough or a sneeze shield.
Yeah.
So if you sneeze, it goes up against it. But that does not protect you from the person who sneezed on aisle 7,
Right.
where the ventilation just pulls all those droplets right over you.
Right. And all the things that are happening. We're not supposed to be indoors. We're not supposed to be indoors.
The problem
That
with
is the-
coronavirus
and so
is
changing
it's a
that-
respiratory virus
Right.
that can be exhaled or sneezed or
Right.
coughed. And if you're indoors, you're screwed.
Right. Period. That's confirmation of what I was saying. And so we need
And
those
you can
changes.
somewhat protect yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you can be somewhat protected if the person with coronavirus who doesn't know it or doesn't admit
Right.
it is wearing a mask.
Mhm.
But the Karens of the world don't want to wear masks because it makes their face look funny.
So anyway, it's just that's why the $5 becomes the corporations came up with that as people are
Yeah, the
writing in.
corporations came up with the $5.
Right, they
Yes.
did because to change the whole paradigm, which really needs to change, it needs to be all outdoors, and it needs to be,
Okay,
where
but
just
watch
the
the
pickers.
watch the dynamic. Watch the dynamic change. Now, all right, employees, I'm paying all of you $5 an hour more. This is risk pay.
right,
So you're indemnified now. You're
Right.
paid to take a risk. What I want is I want
there'll be no lawsuits against me for
Yes.
one.
I want customers in the store, not outside, and I don't want you to wear a mask
Oh, well,
because then if that aggravates the Karens and they won't come back, and if they do come back, they'll come back with a gun and they'll shoot us. Okay, so you can't wear a mask. The customers don't have to wear masks. Everyone comes in here, and in order to make you feel okay about all that, I'm paying you $5 an hour more. Okay, that's the deal.
yeah, but
That's the deal.
and all,
And the
yeah.
retailer, he disappears back to his 5,000 square foot McMansion in Saratoga, and he just waits for the money to roll in. He's not actually down there dealing with any of that. Not with the masks, not with the coronavirus, not with the Karens, nobody. Okay? Nothing, nobody. He's up in Saratoga watching Donald Trump bloviate. Okay? He's good.
So what it is,
And you have to pay $5 an hour to rake in the money, he'll pay the $5 an hour. And then, of course, he'll raise the prices of things to make it up anyway.
and the point is, like you said, they're they came up with this idea. That most legislation is created by corporations.
It is.
And
Almost all of
so when they came up with this idea, it was to indemnify them from doing anything else. So it's a shot across the bow to say, look how good we're doing. We're helping our people, care about our people. But they don't care about
No, they
them.
don't
And
care.
that's what you said, is that
Engineered
need to
controls.
engineer
It's a sign that
controls.
you care.
Right, exactly. And we're not engineering the change.
Engineer
make it
controls
outside.
and
Yeah.
engineer controls
Right.
in a pandemic situation
Right.
is
Right,
keeping
right,
customers
right.
separated from employees.
right,
Um,
right.
no
exactly.
indoor anything.
Right, exactly.
Face mask
Exactly.
required.
And the rich can do it. The rich can do it. Like we've been able to do it.
That's
We've
all
been able
engineer
to,
controls.
we've been able to do everything virtual. We haven't gone in the stores hardly ever, through this whole
I'm
time.
here to tell you something.
What?
I just said it. You haven't been buying from Whole Foods online the way you bought from Whole Foods before. We would go into Whole Foods pretty regularly and come out with $300 worth
Right.
of food
We don't
like
do that
every
anymore.
week.
We don't do that.
anymore.
Right, right.
You
And
know
we
what
didn't-
Jeff Bezos thinks about that? He
Yeah,
thinks
I know.
that sucks.
I know. But anyway, getting back, that's where the low-income people.
He's not interested
low-income
in you
people
ordering your shit
are having a
online and
much
picking it
harder-
up curbside. He's not interested in that.
I know, but the low-income people are having a much harder time because no one else is doing what Whole Foods is the only one doing curbside. None of the other stores are.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
not. They're not doing it except
If
for
you go to
Target.
the east side and
They're
you go
not
to the
doing
Mi Rancho,
Right. Right.
Stop and Rob,
Yeah.
nothing, man.
Right.
Yeah, the place
And
is
they're
packed,
crowded.
shoulder to
Right.
shoulder.
And the Costco's and different things like that. And so, we haven't created an infrastructure that's changed.
Even our capitalist exploiter next door, the yard maintenance
landscaper.
guy, he throws 4 or 5 workers into a pickup truck and they go to the site.
Right. They were always doing that, even under when
They did it before.
Right.
They did it all during the lockdown,
Right.
and they're doing it today.
Right. That's true.
I don't know how that's supposed to
Oh,
work.
right. That is true. Yeah. Yeah. On top of each other.
Yeah, he's not going to get caught, and no one's
Right.
even going to look.
Right.
And his workers who are happy to have the $8 an hour under the table, his workers won't say a peep. And if one of them gets sick, well, his brother will show up the next day to work maintenance.
Right.
Because all you have to do is be able to, push a lawnmower. The whole family will work for this guy. They'll all get sick. Some of them will die, and the money will stay in the
And
family.
that's
And he doesn't care who shows up.
Right. And that's where the minorities and the low-income people are suffering.
Well, okay.
And-
So
and
let me
then-
play
and then
devil's
the
advocate.
Capitalists just use them as slaves and
Yeah.
don't change. They're not changing the way.
Okay, don't-
they're not paying.
Don't
the
say in front of the Karens and the MAGA people and the Trumpists that the capitalism is using them as slaves because they don't have to work and we're going to pay them if they do. Yada yada yada. Okay, but the truth is they're not paid anything close to what their labor is. Otherwise, Jeff Bezos wouldn't be a trillionaire.
Right.
If Jeff Bezos was paying his employees what the actual value of their work is, they would be doing pretty well, and he would not be a trillionaire.
Well,
but he's not required to pay them the
Well,
fair value of their labor.
well, but now you're saying, now we're trying to do that, the $5 more. But the real
The
cost.
$5 is not the real
I know,
cost.
and that what I'm saying.
It's
is
just a token.
right,
It's an
and
enticement.
the real cost would be the changing the system of how
And the fact that these people
how we
are
get
so
food.
down on the
Right.
economic ladder,
Right.
the $5 an hour more
Right.
looks like a big deal to them.
Right.
That's just an indication of how pitiful they are.
Right.
That wouldn't do it for me. $5 an hour to go in there and get sick in 3 days
Right.
with coronavirus and lose both kidneys
Right.
and half my brain to coronavirus for $5 an hour.
Lose your smell
But if
and your lungs.
I was desperate and I needed to pay rent and I
Right.
needed to feed my children, I would do it for
I
$5.
know, and that's just
The
like in
fact that people
the
are
coal
that
mines,
desperate,
just like in the coal mines.
yeah, just like the coal mines. The fact that people are that desperate is the problem.
Right, that's true too.
That's why we
And-
can't have nice
And the
things.
real cause, the reason why when we say, Jeff Bezos is a trillionaire and that shouldn't happen, it was not only the wage discrepancy, it's that infrastructure change that would put all of our buying, all of Whole Foods would be, a curbside, and we'd come one at a time to the, maybe whatever we come to it, to create
Whole
the
Foods
separation.
wouldn't last a half a year.
Right, and then he couldn't afford the property and all the costs of the real estate or whatever.
His grocery chain would go bankrupt.
Right.
So what was the
Okay.
point of paying
Oh, okay.
$50 billion for Whole Foods and then having to go bankrupt 2 years later?
Right. Yeah. So these are these. Okay. So then the system is broken.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't, and we need to grow food
Okay,
outside.
It's not broken. It's unfair.
Well, yeah.
And you can say that's
true.
broken,
Okay.
but you can't because it's unfair.
Okay, you say
It
it's
works
unfair.
perfectly well for Jeff Bezos.
It works well
and his
for
investors
and well for wealthy people.
And it just abuses his workers.
Right. And then he's only one of many grocers in this whole community that are many people are suffering because of most people aren't going to Whole Foods.
Or Zanotto's or
right.
they're
higher
going to
end
Mio
stores.
Rancho because that's where they get their rice and beans.
Right. Yeah.
They're not using Amazon Prime.
Well, some of them are, and a lot of us are.
Well, and in fairness, I don't use Amazon Prime that much either. We get our bulk foods,
Right.
rice and beans, just to keep with the theme. We get our rice and beans from Jaffe Brothers in LA,
San Diego,
Anaheim, San Diego, wherever it was,
Oceanside,
and they ship them up here on a
UPS.
truck, UPS, I guess,
I guess it was UPS.
UPS or FedEx. I don't know which one it was. UPS maybe.
And we're trying to
Anyway,
become a co-op ourselves.
yeah. So we get our food shipped to us. Well, that's because we're perfectly happy eating the same things, bulk buying, basic food, and we prepare our own food. We make our own wheat
Right.
flour, right? I
Right.
mean, we want a loaf of bread. We take
Yeah.
our wheat berries and
And-
make wheat flour, and we make bread. We have a
Right.
bread machine right
Right.
there.
One of the things that this guy who was wonderful, the place that we were listening to, it's called Rebel Wisdom on YouTube, and they had a wonderful British man talking about social dynamics between people, and it's a very important topic because we're having so many interpersonal challenges with social media, insurrections. I mean, we're really, gun violence. I mean, a lot of
I summarize it as
violence is-
saying that Americans have, by and large, lost their
they're
minds.
right. They're losing their minds. And so his analysis is that our politicians are not telling us what we need to do. And that is really
Yeah.
true. And so
Why would they?
they're telling us, right, because they're just the puppets of
They're just the
capitalism.
puppets for capitalism.
Right. And that's really
And capitalism
really
just wants BAU.
right.
If they have any recommendation, go to Disneyland, fly to Vail, and go skiing. I mean, that's BAU. That's all
Right.
they care about. It's
And they are
business as
telling
usual.
us to go to the restaurants. They're telling us that.
Yeah.
And they're
And don't
telling
lock
us
anything down, and don't
Right.
close restaurants, and don't close retail, and
right.
hairdressers, and all that.
They're
sports
not telling.
policies.
Oh, and then what
Get
thing
out
I was thinking about is that how many we go to the grocery store. We go 2 or 3 times a week because we're not, even us. When
And
I
they go to Starbucks every day.
and when I go to the farmer's market, I get enough because I have 2 refrigerators on solar mostly. That I'm able to not go. We maybe won't go for a month. To really, I don't see us having to go
To a market,
to a market in a
No.
month. I mean,
and then we do curbside,
right.
and it's maybe a $300
And then-
order
and
of
then,
just things that we don't make for ourselves.
We're buying in
Ketchup.
bulk. We're buying in bulk, and these are things that people, the Hispanic community needs to start doing is buying in bulk, and then helping each other, creating co-ops, creating grain. These
Okay,
are
they
the
might
type
do
of
that.
things.
They might do
You
that
know?
because they are a little bit closer to the land
Yes,
and communal.
but nobody's
living than we
educating
are.
them about that.
You don't really have to educate them. They just have to want to do it.
No, I know, but this is what I'm saying. Our
They
program
know
is
how
very
to do it.
important.
They have very
Is
strong
that-
communities. They can really
Okay,
do it
fine,
easily.
they could, but our politicians aren't educating us about how to stay out of the market, how to stay home. That's the curriculum, is how to stay home. And the one way that I make it easy for us to stay home.
Okay, the one
is
way you make it
making-
easy to stay home is you've got $50,000 in your checking account, and if you want to place $1,000 order for food to be delivered every 2 months, you just do that. Okay,
Okay.
nobody else is in that position.
Well, but
A lot of
could-
people go to the store every day because they get paid every day, and they take the extra $10 that they don't have to pay for rent. And they take it every day, and they go down and they buy tortillas and basic foods
Right.
every single day
Yeah,
or every other
right.
day
And so I guess
because they
people,
got no
so-
money.
and
They
the
got
thing
this
is,
much money.
people can work together, to put in the money together to place an order.
Fine. Yeah, they could do that.
Right. Yeah, like we used to do in the co-op. When we would have a bill. We didn't have to pay for
Okay.
it.
Now,
And then we
one
would,
thing that the government could do along those lines.
Right.
Okay. If the government decided, and they told the capitalists, sit down, shut up. We're having adult conversations here. You go over there. I don't want to hear you crying crocodile tears. Sit down, shut up. We're going to have a conversation. Here's the conversation. How do we make our communities more resilient?
right.
Okay. Now, there are actually, it's a long conversation on how to do that, but just pick one. You can have a local food bank.
Mhm.
Why?
These are bad. These are my window. 415. Anytime I see that, I just say no. Go ahead.
What about this? Okay. So you can have a local food bank. And it's not a giveaway. It's not a Christian charity. It's nothing like that. It is
A co-op.
where the people in the neighborhood
Right.
pool their money, and the food bank makes big orders.
Right.
And they save money on the big orders.
Right.
It's shipped directly to the food
Right.
bank.
Right.
They redistribute it to
Right.
the people.
Right.
And now the government can set that up. Local
Right.
food banks. The government can set up community banks up for money, real money, community banks to give micro loans
Well, that's
to people.
something that
Okay.
Jake Tonkel talked about was
There's a lot of topics that cover resilience. This is all resilience.
Right.
Now, the big banks, who I just told to shut up and go sit down, okay, they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
The big box shops who don't want you buying collectively and distributing it in your neighborhood, I also told them to shut up and go sit down. You have to tell these people, the big banks, the big box shops, the corporations, the downtown, the downtown restaurateurs, the Silicon Valley Chamber of Commerce. You have to tell these people, yes, I know who you are. You're all very smart. You're all very rich. Now shut up and sit down, because we're having another conversation over here. Okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
If you can ever manage to tell those players to shut up and sit down and listen, okay, then you can have these conversations. Then you can work with people to make resilient communities. My contention is you can't have that conversation, because as soon as you try to have that conversation, the Silicon Valley Chamber of Commerce is going to hit you with an attack ad to demonize you as a communist, which is what happened to Jake Tonkel. Okay. So you can't have that conversation, because they will come into your community where you're trying to help your own people, and they will demonize you as a Bolshevik. And then when people find out that you're a Bolshevik, then they'll try to kill you. Okay.
He said the communists are bad.
Yeah, because Donald
Trump
is
taking
telling
all
you
your
communists
freedoms
are bad.
away.
And all they have to do is accuse you of being a Bolshevik, and you're dead.
Right.
And you can't have these conversations. Now, what the city and the state and the federal government can do is they can approach these big corporations and these big players and these big super PACs and tell them, you shut up and you sit down. You don't do what you're going to do. I know what you're going to do. Don't do that. What I want you to do is shut your mouth, keep your wallet in your ass pocket, and go over there and sit down and shut up. Okay? And if you get up out of that chair, or if you open your mouth, I'm going to throw you in prison. Just shut up. Now,
that's what we
now the rest of us can have a conversation.
That's what we
and
have
when
to...
I raise my hand and I say, maybe we should have a food bank,
then
I'm not going to hit.
Well,
no one's going to come out of the clouds and attack me as a Bolshevik.
We have to take
and put up crosshairs on my forehead.
We have to take money, or whatever they call it, out of, it has to be, where we all pay $1 to fund campaigns.
Okay, no, that's
money out of campaigns.
I did not. I did not say that's necessary. I don't want to talk about campaign finance. What I'm saying is that a politician can get elected after taking money from the corporations. Give me the money. Now I'm elected. And then they can take a leadership role. And they can say, thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for the money to get me elected. Now, shut your mouth and go sit down.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
No, they could do that.
Yeah. But anyway,
now you could say, well, no, they can't do that because they won't get reelected.
They're not.
But they could still do that.
They're not. And look,
they won't.
We saw it with Gavin Newsom.
And I'm not saying that we can solve these problems. I'm not saying we can save the people, and help them do things differently and be more resilient. I'm not saying we can do that. I'm saying that there's no engineered problem with doing it. I'm saying you don't have the social constructs to do it.
Right. Yeah, we don't. And we have too many guns to do it.
Yeah, people are too violent, and there's all the Karens and all the anti-Bolsheviks, and we can't have nice things.
Right.
We can't have nice things.
Right. And,
this is why we can't have nice things.
Gavin Newsom making the changes to open up our society again, because he, take away his stay-at-home order, which was all BS.
Okay, he's given up. I've already told you this. Yeah. Gavin Newsom has given up. Yeah. And when they tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan,
he took a play card.
When they tried to kidnap and kill the governor of Michigan for having lockdowns, Gavin Newsom and 49 other governors, 48 if you include him, 49, that they all sat back and said, "Whoa! If you have a lockdown, there's a bunch of hayseeds out there will come and try and kidnap you and kill you and your family." I don't really care enough about people to have a lockdown and try and save them. They know what they're supposed to do. They've heard the rules. They've got all these people telling them what to do. They know what a pandemic is. They have at least some idea of the germ theory of disease, and we can just let them figure it out. We've told them what to wear, told them where to go, told them where not to go, told them how to behave, and now we're done. And I'm not going to put myself and my family on the line to be kidnapped and murdered, and just to try and save these people. And I understand exactly why Gavin Newsom is backing off. I absolutely would do that. Except that would get on the at the lectern, and I'd have a press conference And I would say, all right, citizens of California, you know you're in a pandemic. It's not done. We'll tell you when it's done. Big full-page ads. Pandemic is over. In the meantime, you know what to do. You're supposed to wear a mask. It protects you and the people around you.
Stay home.
You're supposed to stay indoors as much as you can to protect yourself and others. You need to avoid
outdoors.
Indoor activities, and that includes restaurants and sports coliseums and everything else. And, you know, and don't travel. Don't spread the virus. You know what to do. Now I'm done with you, retarded pukes, okay? You know what to do. Go do it. Or don't do it. Or don't do it. But my advice is you do it. And I want to tell you something else. If you lose both your kidneys to coronavirus, we're not going to give you new ones. And we're not going to sign you up for free dialysis. You know, you're done. If you roll the dice, every time you go into a restaurant, every time you go into a sports bar, you're rolling the dice. And if your roll of the dice comes up snake eyes and you're done, then you're done. You're done. And we're not going to do anything for you. You knew what to do, what not to do. You did it anyway, and you rolled snake eyes, and you're done. Okay? We're all adults. We all know what the risks are.
What are snake eyes? Snake eyes are what? Oh, two.
Double ones.
Double one. That's a bad thing.
Depends on the game. And that's the game I just came up with. You can roll the dice, and if you come up snake eyes, you're done.
All right, fine. Right.
And that's about the odds, by the way.
What?
That's about the odds.
Right. 1 in 10.
Dice odds. We are playing with dice odds, not lottery odds.
Is that
dice
1 in
odds.
10? 1 in 10?
1 in 36.
1 in 36.
Yeah.
That's a high odds, though. Those are very high odds.
1 in 36 is reasonable odds for something that can kill you. Yeah. Every time you go into a sports bar, roll the dice. It's 1 in 36 odds you're going to get coronavirus.
See what the point.
Every time you go to a grocery store, dice odds.
Dice odds.
Every time.
Right. Snake eyes.
Every time you go into a restaurant or a bar, roll the dice.
1
Dice odds that you're going to come out sick.
Right. 1 in 36.
Dice odds every time.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. How do we stay out of the grocery stores? You know, that's what we do.
You don't. And you pay your workers $5 an hour to show up. That's how we're playing this game.
Right.
It's dice odds for every one of those workers.
Right. Oh, now theirs is so much more.
No. Say every time they go to work, every day.
Right. No.
Dice odds that they're going to get sick.
Theirs is most likely 1 in 2 or something because they are exposed to so many more people.
I'm just trying to make a point.
Right, fine.
I'm not here to play science with you.
All right.
I'm not here to. I'm not an actuary. Right. I'm just telling you dice odds.
The research shows the odds are very packed against them. Okay, we know that. That's what it is. They're the ones.
You know what? I'm probably right. And you're probably wrong. It's dice odds.
Okay.
Every day.
Yeah. Okay.
Fine. It might even be dice odds every time you see a customer.
The workers have it worse than the customers, is what I'm saying, because they're the ones that are having to deal with all the customers. Right? Yeah. They're the customers are the ones. Their viral load is so much more.
Yes. They're indoors and they're around people. They are every day. Those checkout people at Whole Foods every day have to face somebody with coronavirus. Sick. Every day.
Right.
Probably 6 times a day.
Right. How many people are passing through?
Yeah.
And the odds are very high.
Dice odds.
Well,
every time someone comes up to your cash registers, dice odds that they've got coronavirus standing right in front of you.
And I'm saying even the odds are worse than that. So that's what I'm just saying, because I don't know, but I'm just saying it's worse. But each of us, every time we go in, the dice odds are 36. But for them, it's a lot worse.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
You don't understand probability.
All right.
You go in the store once. It's dice odds that you're going to get coronavirus. They have to face you, and everybody comes after you. That's why I said
their odds are so much greater.
All I said was that every time they face a customer who gives them a credit card, it's dice odds. That person has coronavirus.
Right, fine. Whatever it is, it's a bad odds. It's bad. It's bad.
No, it's horrendous.
It's horrendous.
Dice odds are bad odds.
And those
for something that can kill you, for something that can cost you your kidneys and even your mental stability. And dice odds, and you're going to play that game. That's almost Russian roulette.
Right.
That's almost suicide game.
This is what we're playing with. And then we say, care about your neighbor. That's BS.
This is total BS.
We don't care about our neighbors.
Okay, listen. Nobody cares about their neighbor.
No.
What do people care about? Their pleasures, their status, the growth of their 401k. That's what people care about. Our communities have been absolutely eviscerated. There's nothing there. There's no heart or soul left in our communities. Right. It's just a bunch of rich sociopaths posing for each other. That's all it is. Everybody's a player.
Oh, and a lot of racism, and a lot of
Yeah, well, that's
a
part of
lot
it.
of racism.
Yeah, a lot of racism.
I guess you can call it
A lot
racism.
of classism.
Is it racism even when you deal with your religion and stuff? Is that, anti-Jew? Is that racism? That's under racism?
I don't know. Maybe.
Anti-Semitism. We could call it anti-Semitism and racism. Because those two are the big ones.
I think those
are
two.
the big two.
Yeah, but there's also,
you have to say it directly. Is anti-Semitism.
But there's also economic.
Right. Okay, there is that.
Posing.
But racism and anti-Semitism, because the black and the Jews that have been targeted. We know that.
And the Browns, for that matter.
Okay, and the Browns. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the Browns. Browns, blacks, and Jews.
Yeah, the Karens have it in for everybody. The Karens are xenophobes.
We always say Karens like it's the female, because my image is so much more men.
Okay, the Karens
are the violent ones.
That's the meme.
But maybe, okay, fine. But maybe
the intolerant Karens, or
what are the
on
men?
the cell phone because she saw a black man in the park.
Okay, fine.
Somebody's a rapist and they're raping me right now as I'm talking to you.
I know. There's the Karens, but what are the men
Karens.
called? What do we call the bad men?
Karens.
We call them Karens too?
Absolutely. They're bitches.
They're
Call them Karens.
Well, see, what it is the men have the women behind them, fueling their anger and their violence. I guess you can say that, but there's a lot. A lot of violent men. They're the ones that are killing. Is the violent men mostly?
Well, then maybe they're the Chads. I don't know.
Okay, fine.
The Chads and the Karens.
right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
What did Trey call himself? Tristan, gay man, French name, which is actually the anti-Chad. But it's funny.
That's another.
Tristan,
name.
Tristan Gayman. French name. Brilliant. Anyway.
What's that? Tell everybody that channel. What is that channel?
Oh, Trey Crowder.
Trey Crowder.
The progressive liberal redneck.
Yeah,
and he really is progressive, and he really is a redneck.
And then the other great one I really love is, and I like them both.
Beau of the Fifth Column.
Beau
of the Fifth Column. B-A-B-E-A-U, I think. Beau.
Yeah, Beau. B-E-A-U.
And they have Beau of the Fifth Column. He's smart. Beau of the Fifth Column. He's really smart. Also a redneck, also a progressive, but just really a smart guy too. I like how he thinks. He's always connecting dots. But Trey Crowder is a comedian. He's actually a professional comedian. He travels, does everything. But he's a liberal redneck. And it's really funny to hear him talk about rednecks. He basically talks shit about his own people, which is what I do all the time. I'm always talking shit about rednecks. I'm a redneck. I can get away with that. It's like a black person talking shit about blacks, I can do that.
Right, exactly.
Well, and it's not just talking shit about somebody to be funny. You know your people better than other people know them. And you know what it is about your own people that's BS. Okay, you know that. Now, you can also celebrate your people. You can say, my people are, give you the shirt off their back. My people are loyal. My people are hardworking. My people are generous. You can say good things about your people. And you should say good things about your people.
Hopefully
and black people can say good things about black people. And Asian people can say good things about Asian people. There's good in everybody, unless you're a Nazi. There's good in everybody. But you also know the BS. You know where the bullshit is. And, there's nothing wrong with calling out BS on your own people. And you do your people a favor by doing that. It's actually a service. Okay, I'm going to call BS on you. And I'm always telling you, I've got a really sensible bullshit meter, right? I'll even tell you, okay, my bullshit meter just got pegged, and I got to talk about this. Right. And this $5 an hour thing pegged me, right?
Right.
I was like, okay, time out, hold it. That's BS. Let me tell you why that's BS. Now, these are my people. These are greedy white people. They're licentious. They're.
Who's the greedy white people? The politicians you're talking?
These are my people.
The politicians? Well, half of
corporate America. These are my people.
But the ones that are really pulling the strings.
I am an upper middle class white people.
But you know what? It's all the corporations of all different colors.
It doesn't matter. These are my people. I can talk shit about them.
But I was thinking it's not why. I think the color is not. Even the Republican. Maybe it's Republican values.
No, it's white people.
It's not only white people. Look at him. He's
okay. He's acting like a white person.
Well, okay. Well, I don't want to call it white. I think we should call it like somebody called it Republican. It's Republican, and I call it.
Okay, well, maybe it is
friendly. I call it economics. It's Homo economicus. It's people who put money, what's called just money.
Personal gain.
Yeah, money.
Yeah.
And it's in that system of money. And money is what money. This is a really important topic because money is the root of capitalism, and we have to get rid of money.
Okay, you're not going to do that. Now you can transition to something else.
That's what we have to do.
But you can't get rid of money without replacing it with something else.
Well, with barter and trade, that's what we said, barter and trade, right? And we become producers, and it's barter and trade.
Okay, well then you're not just replacing money. Maybe you need to think about this. You're getting rid of money is actually not your goal, and that's not what you're going to do. What you're going to do, your goal is to make people and communities more resilient.
Right, exactly.
And more autonomous and self-sufficient.
Yeah.
That's your actual goal.
That's
your goal
right.
was never to get rid of money.
Right.
You convinced yourself that was your goal.
But
That was
I
not your goal.
realize that those that are about money.
How do you make? Okay, forget that. Forget those people. Don't let them frame the narrative.
Mhm.
What are you trying to do? You're trying to make people more resilient and self-sufficient. Now, they are not currently resilient and self-sufficient because they bought into the deal. And the deal for 100 years, or maybe 200, has been you give up your self-sufficiency, meaning you surrender your farm and you go into the city.
Right.
Normally, if you gave up your land,
We'll give you the coin. We're going to give you the coin.
Normally, if you give up your land, you probably starve to death. But I got a deal for you.
Yeah.
You can work in my factory. You let me set the wage, so no unionizing, okay, and no collective bartering or anything. I'll set the wage. You work in my factory for the wage I'm willing to pay you. And here's the deal: I'll give you a paycheck of a size I feel comfortable giving you. You'll take that paycheck and you'll exchange it for the things that you used to do for yourself, like raising animals, raising crops, feeding yourself, having a homestead. You'll buy those things.
Making your own clothes.
Or even just maintaining your clothes, right? Sew the button back on, okay? You darn your socks. The things you used to do.
Knit and crochet, spin.
Right, the things you used to do, you won't do anymore because you're working 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. For me, in my factory, I'll give you a token at the end of the day. You can take that token, exchange that at a store somewhere, even a company store, which they used to do, which was considerably immoral.
Oh, they had their own currency.
I'll talk about talk about the company store if you want to, but I'm not going to right now.
Right.
I'll give you this token. You take this token to a market, and then you buy the bacon and the flour and the salt and sugar, and maybe you can still make food, but probably you buy food. You buy prepared food, cans of beans, right?
Or you're so busy, you go to the fast foods.
Exactly. Well, you just work 12 hours putting engine blocks together.
And then the food that they provide you is fast food.
And then you take some of that token and you buy housing, which you used to simply have on your land, right? You had housing. No one started taking it away. As long as you pay your mortgage on your land, you have your housing. And all this stuff, okay? So that was the deal. You leave behind the security of doing for yourself, and you take on the deal. Well, then capitalism comes along and they break the deal. That's what happened with the pandemic. They broke the deal. And the deal was, you get a job, I'll pay you and you can survive.
You said that's what happened with the pandemic. They broke the deal. Go back to that because that jumped way into the future. So we were talking about the past, how capitalists took us off of our lands and gave us the coinage. And then we had to buy everything that we used to provide for ourselves. That's
what I call the deal.
The deal. But then you said, then you jumped to the pandemic. What did you say? That the pandemic?
Okay, the pandemic has shown us that capitalism will not uphold its end of the deal. Now, an example of a capitalist who did is something you've never seen or heard, which was this. There was a Jewish textile manufacturer who had a factory, and the factory burned. And then, even though the factory had burned and all those people were out of work, okay, he paid them until his factory was working again. That's a capitalist who kept the deal.
Fine.
Now, when the pandemic comes along, fast forward 150 years, pandemic comes along, if they have to close up the shop, they don't bother paying you.
No, I know, but the thing is, that's why we got the PPPE or something, where we gave all the money to the small businesses and the large businesses, and they paid the salaries. And if they paid the salaries, Well,
Why are so
then
many
they were
people scrambling
grants,
around looking for
then
money?
they got it as a grant if they paid it, whatever it was. There was lots of money has been flowing, and and whether or not, I've questioned whether or not we needed to, give the money to the businesses to give to the workers. First of all, a lot of the workers, let's say the airline workers that were out of work, they're making lots of money. So they got that we paid for their salary, and we gave them their salary. And it wasn't really fair because a lot of us have nothing, and having trouble getting a $600 a month check, And so, if they essentially were trying to keep the deal going, like you're saying, the capitalist deal of giving you the coinage that you had before. But, the thing is that I think that, that is, we see that didn't really solve the problem. If, for one, we were supporting businesses that were fossil fuel based businesses and things that, couldn't, even supporting business, for the government to support business, that wasn't really right. It should have went directly to the people.
Okay, but since the era of Milton Friedman, that's how you do it.
Right.
It's called trickle-down economics.
Yeah, right.
You give all the nation's treasure to the businesses, and then through innovation and job creation and growth, they apportion all that treasure down to the people. Trickle-down economics from the Reagan era.
Milton Friedman. Yes.
Okay.
It's called.
It doesn't work.
Another name
if you give all the money to the rich people, they buy
market.
private islands in the Caribbean and super yachts. Okay, so much for the trickling down.
Right. Yeah.
Why do you think Jeff Bezos is a trillionaire? Because there's no taxes on his business. He pays no taxes.
Yeah.
He gets to keep all the money. He pays no taxes. He's supposed to give that money to his workers, and then they go out and buy things and grow the economy with their purchases. Well, he doesn't do it. He doesn't give them the money. He keeps it for himself. He automates his warehouses. He automates his package processing. It's all done with barcodes and scanning, and there's robots everywhere, and there are no people. He just keeps all the money.
Well, there's people too, and
there's fewer people every day.
Yeah, but and look at the what reinforces what you just said is, like, look at his trucks. They're not electric. Why aren't they electric? All his trucks should be electric coming into our neighborhoods.
Why would he ever do that?
Right, he's not going to do that. He's not doing it.
No.
And nobody, I guess, Joe Biden is saying we're going to buy all new electric cars, the federal government, but where's the regulations for the businesses? Why UPS should be required to buy all electric trucks?
How about this? You put an $80 a gallon surcharge on fuel.
Right. That's right. That's right.
That fixes your problem.
Yeah. I guess General Motors has said that they are going to change. They're not producing any diesel or internal combustion engines, gas, by 2035. They're saying they're done with.
Yeah. You know why? Because they won't be able to sell them in Europe. They can probably still sell them in America, but America is maybe 1/3 or maybe a quarter of their actual annual sales. And they won't be able to sell their product, so they have to go electric.
One of the good news is that
they don't want to have two manufacturing streams, one for America and one for the rest of the planet. They're just going to have one.
And one good news,
if Americans don't buy their product, it's fine.
One good news is that what was it? That we have a Democratic Congress, and we could pass his $1.9 trillion budget to, deal with our crises, because we don't have to deal with the Republicans saying no and winning. This is
but you do have to deal with one Democrat saying no.
Okay.
And why would they do that? Here's how this works.
Right.
A little bit off topic.
Or one Democrat dies and we get a
no
or whatever.
No, even if you still get Democrats, here's how it happens.
Yeah.
A Democrat in his district, say it's a coal district,
right,
or it's a fossil fuel, it's Texas, or it's Montana, someplace where they have coal or oil or something else, natural gas. And so they say, well, my industry is suffering under climate change. Coal is being cut back. Crude oil is being cut back because everyone's going electric with their cars and their trucks. And I need huge subsidies for my industry. My oil fields in Texas need huge subsidies. My oil fields in wherever, Colorado need huge subsidies. So you give me my subsidies, or I'm
Yeah.
not going to caucus with you.
Mm.
I will caucus with the Republicans because they would give me subsidies for my industries. And if I can't guarantee subsidies for my dying industries in my district, I don't get reelected. So to get reelected, you have to funnel massive billions of dollars to my industries in my congressional district, or I'm not going to vote for your other programs. And so pretty soon, this piece of legislation comes out with this $1.9 billion support package, and it ends up with
1.9 trillion.
trillion with a T. But it ends up having another $1 trillion of what we call pork. Well, it's not pork. It's what everybody wants to vote for it. Because now that you have this razor-thin margin in Congress, one Democrat defecting can trash the whole thing. Right. So every Democrat, I mean all of them, I mean thousands of them,
are going to ask for
are going to have $1 billion for their district.
Their fossil fuel thing.
Whatever it is, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Paint strippers, anything, whatever their industry is in their district that got them elected, meaning gave them money.
Right.
Okay.
So there's gonna be a lot of
whoever gave me money. Where are you? Who are you? You need money? I'm about to vote for something in Congress. I can get $1 billion from these people. Okay. What can I use $1 billion for in my district? Line up, everybody. I need 100 ideas on how to divide up $1 billion.
You're right. It's not.
And that's how it is.
We're not.
And
we're not in a good situation.
We're not in a good position.
Yeah. It's so border thin. It's so thin.
Every Democrat
it's so thin, our
senator knows they've got leverage for $1 billion, and that's $50 billion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We can't win. We're not winning. We're not winning yet.
This is not winning.
We're
Okay.
not winning yet.
Now, on the other hand,
have some water too.
It's just money.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's fine. Spend the $50 billion. Who cares?
That was kind of a rough drink of celery juice.
If you're guaranteed to get $1 billion just to assure your vote, you're also guaranteed to get $100 billion.
That was kind of a rough celery juice. Have some water to thin it out, honey, because there was a lot of leaves.
I noticed that.
It was strong.
I'm gonna go lay down.
Okay, sweetheart. All right, so we're done. You can turn that. You can save that one. Okay. Thanks, honey. What would we call this one? What would you call this one? What was the main? I think the main thing is just, we need to learn to